Welcome to Green Tiger Legion USA. My name is Zach Montoya, President of Green Tiger Legion USA. We're a Second Amendment advocacy and general preparedness organization here in the state of Oregon. And today, we're going to be discussing the Glock V, as well as why you cannot fully ban full auto. Let's go straight into it. So real quickly here, just before we get started, we have been focusing a lot on the general preparedness side of Green Tiger Legion USA. We've noticed that through making shorts, we're getting a lot more views, a lot more tractions for the general preparedness side of things that we do here at Green Tiger Legion USA. However, that doesn't mean that we're going to forget the Second Amendment advocacy side, which is the second side of Green Tiger Legion USA that's absolutely equal to the general preparedness. So with that being said, we're going to make a few announcements of some videos we're looking to push out here within the next maybe like couple weeks, if possible. First is going to be Oregon House Bill 2572 that was passed in 2023. We'll be going over that. Also, we'll be going over the federal case of U.S. versus Hermani, another important topic in regards to substances and firearms possession. After that, it's going to be the granddaddy bill of them all for us here in Oregon. That is Measure 114. We've been following this since day one. It is the reason why Green Tiger Legion USA came to be almost solely at that point, other than our fondness for the Second Amendment and what that means. So without further ado, let's talk about the Glock V. In our previous video here, titled Newsom Bans Glocks in California, we talked about Assembly Bill 1127. This was the cruciform trigger bar ban, also known as the Glock ban. Specifically targeted Glock-style pistols. In the video, we said absolutely lawsuit after lawsuit was going to pile in as soon as this was signed into law. Fast forward a little bit, it was signed into law by Gavin Newsom, and of course those lawsuits poured in. What I also said in the video, and this is what really caught me off guard, I'm not going to lie, is that Glock would absolutely clap back. No, instead, they got clapped. Unfortunately, Glock caved. Can I blame them for caving and, giving in this sense? Yes and no. No, because, well, when you have all that legal pressure coming at you, I'm not paying for that lawyer. I'm not paying that bill. So it's not my money, and I can't tell them what to do with their money in that sense. But what I can say is this set precedents for other anti-gun groups to come in and target other gun manufacturers. Because if it worked once, it's going to work again, right? So what Glock did is, after they caved, is they announced that they were going to make a Gen V model, which wasn't going to be able to be readily converted into full auto. Glock V came out less than a week later. Some mad lad or some redneck with too much American blood in them decided to convert that pistol into fully auto. And the internet exploded. It went wild. And let me tell you, the Jeff Goldblum memes, chef's kiss. But what this really comes down to is that with enough know-how and a few spare parts, you can convert any semi-automatic weapon into full auto. Shoot, we'll even take this 100-year-old vet right here, talks about how he did it back in World War II. Let's look right here.
Was this a good weapon?
Boy, it was. It shoots 8 shots per clip. As fast as you. But there's one way to make it automatic. That you file your sear pin. File the sear pin inside the mechanism, and you can pull the trigger one time, and it just goes 8 shots.
You saw that there. And so imagine that you have a soldier at this point that's in a stressful battlefield, and he's able to do that fairly quickly, almost on the fly, it sounds like, right? How long do you really think it's going to take for someone in the comfort of their home, their air conditioning, their heating, a nice comfy chair. I don't know, probably about max, if they're, spent and they have other projects that they're taking care of, probably about a week max, right? A couple days if they're putting it off, really putting it off, right? And this is why you can never fully ban full auto, right? And we need to look towards kind of the future here of repealing the NFA, because those laws, they're not going to cut down on criminals to stop using full auto. I mean, let's be frank. And back in the day, you can get a fully auto weapon from a store. You can get an M16 from a store, or if you can buy some of those out of a Sears magazine at this point, right? Back in the day. It was only up until the 80s where they decided, no, we need to ban this because criminals are doing criminal things. Now, how does it make sense in any world to be outgunned by criminals? That makes no sense. In fact, some police forces have learned from this. That's why the police started saying, hey, we are outgunned. Okay, we need to use full auto. And if the police can have them, if the state can have them, the citizens should also be allowed to have them. Okay, without that, it can lead to a hostile, oppressive takeover. In some cases, if there's a rise in militarism within a country, guess what? You're SOL. You're outgunned. I'd never want to be outgunned, right? As far as my Second Amendment right goes, I absolutely want to have the fullest of capabilities and the most advantage against someone coming to my home, someone trying to take out my family, someone trying to harm the people I love, right, and care about. And so I want the fullest of capabilities when it comes to that. I believe in training 100%. I think that if you have access to that type of weaponry, you should absolutely train with it. But is it your right to own it? Yes. That's why there are actually groups like Palmetto State Armory, which you can say what you want about the rifles, you can say what you want about their pistols, but they're going to bat to repeal the NFA. And that is amazing for a gun company, right? And I fully support them in that. But what we can do and what we should be looking to is educate the population, because every time I hear something about you can show an AK to someone and they think it goes full auto. I mean, they really do think that. And if you go to a legal standpoint where you're in a court and you use that type of weapon to defend yourself, there could be some legal loopholes that you have to walk through, right? Excessive force. They're going to say, oh, it's excessive force. Well, if I'm fighting for my life, what is excessive at that point? Right? I mean, this is life and death at this point. If you have to use your rifle, if you have to use your pistol, if you have to use your firearm, it is life and death. You are scared for your life. You are terrified that you're going to not be able to protect your family no longer. Right? You're not going to grow up to see your kids. You're not going to, like, all these things. And that's why it's important. Capabilities, again, I want to have the best advantage to defend and to be able to live until I'm too old to even hold a rifle. In conclusion here, we saw what happened with Glock and the Genevieve situation. But what we didn't discuss is what emboldened, Everytown for Gun Safety did after that, which they targeted Ruger. They sent them an 8-page letter. We'll link it in the description here, but they absolutely targeted Ruger next. Luckily, Ruger's history, they tend to disregard this stuff. They don't get easily intimidated. They've been around for a long time. And I don't I can't say for certain because of what happened with Glock if they will or will not cave, but I'm suspecting that they will not, just because of their history here. And they're targeting the Ruger XM because it's a Gen 3 Glock clone, basically. Fairly popular, came out about 11 months ago or so. But this is not just Everytown for Gun Safety. This is also, let me get the gentleman's name, the AG out in Connecticut, William Tong, who's also now threatening legal action against Ruger. These are all threats right now, but we can kind of see the lawfare, come into motion here, come into place. And it's something we just have to be aware of, because anti-gun groups can easily outspend almost like 10 to 1 because that Bloomberg money, all these other like private donors that can just like spend and spend and spend. Where like, pro 2A advocacy groups, they may not have the spend that they do. And so it really comes down to money at this point. And if we band together, we're stronger together. But moving forward into one other part before I let everyone go here is that when we saw in Oregon with Senate Bill 243 in regards to FRTs, there's absolutely another part, and I'll say with Oregon 243, just to clarify, there is no 72-hour hold on firearms here in the state of Oregon. That was actually taken out of the bill before it actually was signed and enrolled by the governor. So that's one win for the pro-gun side, but and a loss for the anti-gunners in the state of Oregon. But keep in mind here, because the FRT thing was put into place, you have to ask the question, with aftermarket parts, as we're seeing even with the Glock ban here, or like even just Glock parts in general, whether it be a cruciform trigger, whether it be, even like switches are illegal, of course, but like any gun part that you would put in a firearm that's being targeted, you have to be very careful of that. Because what's not to say that with Oregon, with California, with any state really, that they're not going to look towards, like, say, like an ALG trigger that has a 2.5 to 3.5 pound, trigger pull. What's not to say that they're going to target that next, right? The snowball effect. The snowball effect of giving in. The snowball effect of not fighting for your Second Amendment rights, whether it be in the state of Oregon, California, wherever. Because anti-gun groups just take and take and take, because we know the end is disarmament. That's what they'll be happy with, is when no one has any firearm left to defend themselves. And you have to rely completely on the state, because that's what they want. And it gives so much power to the state. It gives so much power to leaders that you have to put your full trust in. And that's kind of weird to me. That's kind of cultish to trust leaders. I mean, we see like countries like North Korea and stuff like that. No thanks, I'm good. My name is Zach Montoya with Green Tiger Legion USA, signing out.
Nick with a drum, a Glock with a switch. Made his ass run, but still I won't miss. Not shooting off corners, we run up and blitz. We beat them butters, we got all the blitz.